searching for where that you left that I can hold it. I love that.
Welcome to Step into Grace Live. We are so excited to have you here for our very first episode. This show marks the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. Step into Grace Live was created as a space for real women, real stories, and honest conversations that help us grow, heal, and see ourselves differently. I'm Julie Marvel, and today I'm joined by my friend, Debbie Mascioli. Hi, Debbie. Welcome.
Thank you.
She's co-hosting me for this week's launch episode. Debbie brings such a thoughtful presence to conversations like these, and I'm so grateful to have her here to help me kick things off.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, so before we dive in, I want to take a moment to say thank you to Kevin Wilkinson and the 239 Live Productions for welcoming us into the studio and for the incredible team working behind the scenes to help bring this show to life. 239 Live Productions is doing such important work in our community by creating space for meaningful conversations and diverse voices across the network, and we're truly grateful to be part of it. Each Thursday from 11 to 1, Step into Grace Live will feature real women sharing real stories and lessons that life has taught them. These are not highlight reels. These are lived experiences, stories of resilience, reinvention, courage, loss, growth, and self-leadership. Every episode will center around two women's stories shared in an open conversational way. I'll be joined by a co-host each week, and at the heart of the show will be honest storytelling, meaningful reflection, and reconnection. I want to share the heart behind the name Step into Grace first. We use the name Grace because she represents every woman here. Grace isn't a character or a symbol. Grace is you. She's a woman who shows up with strength, courage, and heart. The women who keep moving forward through the hard times and the heartbreak. Through highs and lows of life, Grace embodies resilience, kindness, and the quiet power of women lifting themselves and each other up. When life feels heavy, Grace reminds us to stand tall, hold our heads high, and keep going with love and confidence. So every time you hear the name Grace, Step into Grace, remember this: you are Grace. You are powerful, and together we are unstoppable. Here's to every woman making her mark on the world, one graceful step at a time.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Oh my goodness. So we are here today because of really Julie is that Grace. Julie has a desire to empower other women because you yourself have walked through a story and been vulnerable, and the heart movement that you had to reach out to your community is really why we're here today. And because of her story, she has exhibited such grace through her vulnerability and her desire to share that. And so I just want to thank you for providing a space for our speakers today and for the many speakers that will be, or guests that will be here in the future, that many people will be impacted because of your grace that you want to give to women.
Thank you so much, Debbie. All right, so before we begin today, I want to open the door to you. If you are listening and you feel called to speak on Step into Grace Live or be a co-host on a future episode, I would love to hear from you. Simply put your information in the comments or send us a private message in Facebook to Step into Grace, and this show will grow through the voices of the women in this community. You don't need a perfect story. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need the willingness to share honestly. This is Step into Grace Live, and we're so glad you're here at this very beginning. And I want to thank you, Debbie, for coming in and being my co-host and being so supportive of everything we're doing with Step into Grace.
My pleasure.
All right. So our first guest today is named Caroline, and her story is a powerful example of what it means to rewrite your life when everything you thought defined you is taken away. Caroline's journey includes a life-changing concussion that forced her to pause, to grieve, and ultimately to rebuild her identity, her confidence, and her future in a completely new way. What she has created since then is so inspiring, not because it was easy, but because she chose to rise when staying down would have been understandable. So, Caroline, thank you for being here, for being willing to share your story with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Okay, Caroline, so let's start at the beginning. Before everything changed, how did you see yourself? Who was Caroline before your concussion?
So, first of all, hi everyone. Pleasure to be here. Super excited. So my name is Caroline. I think everyone would describe me as a energetic person. And if I'm talking, so obviously I am the same person now as I was before, but a lot has changed, which I'll get into. But I've always been energized. My life was always full speed ahead. I played elite hockey, and I was at the end of my career working full time in a corporate career, full time, and then elite hockey, and everything was kind of all over the place all the time. Always just lots of energy, doing lots of things, and I was defined by my performance.
And this was in Sweden.
This was in Sweden. Yes, I'm born and raised in Sweden,
Okay.
and now have been 3 months in Naples and absolutely love it here.
Wonderful. We're so happy to have you.
Love it.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the moment that life changed for you. Can you take us back to the moment of your concussion and when you realized how your life was going to look so different?
Sure. So first of all, just to give you guys a little bit background. I have played ice hockey my whole life at very high levels, both in as elite and an elite player in Sweden, but also I played Division 1 college hockey in Minnesota. I played for the Swedish national team, etc. So I've been around. And then about 7 years ago, I got a concussion. That's obviously a little bit why we're here, but that turned my life completely upside down. I went from, like I said, very energized. I've always been a very social extrovert, I've been all over the place, always loving to step into rooms and just never want to leave, always been such a people's person. But I got my concussion, and so I just got my skates basically just like ripped off and just my back of the head to the ice. And after that, I was in a dark room for a couple months or a few months. And life really, really changed.
Oh, it's difficult. That's awful.
Yes. So when you think back, like what was the most when you look at your life prior to, what did you love the most about yourself and your life and the energy that you brought into the room? Like,
I think obviously, like, because when you think about like that you used to be a certain person and who you are today, like I said, I feel the same, but of course I can grieve the version of me that never had to think twice about if I could say yes or no to doing something. Because even as my life today, I it goes up and down, right? And I have a headache every day, and I have had for the past 7 years. So I of course miss just that the spontaneous language barrier. I'm very good at Swedish, guys.
Spontaneity.
Yes. Of just being able to always, no matter what, just say yes and do there and contribute and be fully myself with I know I have a magnetic energy. I can have a magnetic energy, but when you're stepping into a room now and your head is weighing,
yes.
like you don't really feel that. So of course I miss that version of myself and to be that version all the time.
Wow.
Amazing.
Well, the next question I would ask is, how do you find the energy now, knowing, walking through the pressure of your head and feeling like you really would probably just rather stay in bed? So where are you getting your energy to? Because to look at you, no one would think that's how you're feeling right now.
Yeah. Well, I always think that we have choices, right? And early on, I decided when this happened to me. So my doctors told me that I would never get well. A few months after my concussion. So for me, it was always about when I become 100% healthy, when I come back to playing hockey, when I come back to my job, and I've always been a person, like I've aspired so high in life. Like I obviously played hockey on that high level, but I also wanted to be a top CEO of a big company, like if you Google someone who wanted a sexy business card and, I would have come up. So when that happened and I realized that I might not ever have any of that, like that's obviously something that really shifts in you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I kind of forgot the question.
No, just how do you find the energy when you really don't feel well?
Yes. Sorry. So what I was going to get to is that early on then I made a decision like, okay, you can you can lay down or you can get the hell up.
Yeah.
And I think that some people think that when you make those kind of big choices, it is you make it once and never again. But I think that you can make that choice every day, you know? And some days that being like the strong person could be you have to decide to stay in bed, you know? But you can't see yourself as that victim and like people, we all have our stuff, you know, like people don't want to know all your, you know, like get up, you know, put a smile on, do your best, and then go home and rest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what people are going through sometimes that we have no idea.
Yeah,
it's
for
really
sure.
really interesting to find what people are pushing through.
Yeah,
you know,
it's crazy.
So going back to, you said that you really had to spend time in a dark room. What was it really like for you day to day? Like, what was the experience shortly after the accident, and then the interaction with the medical team and your family? What was that like for you?
Super fun.
I can imagine.
So yeah, in the beginning, so the thing is when your brain says no, it's no, you know. So I went from, like I said, 100% to 0. And when I mean 0, I couldn't go for a walk if it was light out, because my brain would get too tired. I could not watch TV. I couldn't listen to music. If I wanted to spend time with someone, I could do it for a little while, but then I would get tired listening to someone, and I couldn't talk all the time, right? So it was tough, and it was that's when everything kind of changed, and I had to find like both who am I now, because my life had been so surrounded by performance my whole life, no matter what it was, like hockey, school, career-wise, everything was about me performing and doing things, and now I couldn't perform at all, you know, on any level.
Yeah.
So now I had to really like redefine myself and just, but honestly, like how that period was, I didn't reflect anything. I tried to survive it, you know? Yeah.
So the process, like, obviously there was, you were grieving, and sometimes even though the doctor may have given you, you know, the notice of it's never going to be the same, there's always that hope, and you're always thinking about what tomorrow brings. Can you walk us through a little bit of like how you had to grieve that? Like, what were the steps that you had to take to where today you can be here and talk about it, but there was probably a time you weren't able to even bring that to words.
Yeah.
How would you say that process was for you?
Well, I think to begin with, like doctors told me, because like I said, for me, it was always about when I get healthy. But then doctors told me word to word, they said that you will never get back to the Caroline you were before the hit, and you will gonna have a standing headache. You're gonna have a standing headache every day for the rest of your life. That's what doctors told me about 6 months after or 9 months after my concussion. So I think first of all, like to just be able to receive that, came like almost like just a shock or like a bullet. Like I'm like what did you just say? You know, it didn't even cross my mind that I never would get healthy. For me, it was like, can I play the next season or not? You know, can I play playoffs? Now they told me I will never ever again be able to work full time, and I'll never again stand on an ice hockey rink, not even to play a game for fun. You know, so I knew that all was taken away. So first of all, I think it was just shock. And then I think like, because I've reflected about this, and I don't think that when you're in it, at least who I was back then, because I've grown so much as a person the past years, like having to go through this, and I started a company, and I started to build that, and really just like change my whole identity in person. So I went through a lot, but back then I don't think you reflect that much. It's more so like I said, like lay down or get up, like and just to kind of make the most of it. So I think that the period, the process of it kind of just came over time with me growing and understanding and learning, and also like kind of accepting that this is the new version of me, and how can I make the most of this Caroline, you know?
It's remarkable.
Yeah. With that acceptance, so you've spoken about learning to value yourself without the high level performance, high level achievement. What steps did you take, or how did you begin to value yourself again, to see yourself differently? Because of course you're still Caroline, but now you have to view yourself differently. How did you start to do that?
So Still a work in progress, first of all.
Okay.
Still a work in products.
Thank you for your honesty.
Yes,
I think that's so important.
I wish like I was 100% there. You know, I still struggle some days, and I still can beat myself up that I should be able to do more, or you know, like perform more. But I think, like, first of all, like when I started, because so I've changed a lot. Before, like I was a person who cared a lot what other people thought of me. And I think that a lot came from performance. I wanted to always be you know, like, and be viewed as, yes, exactly.
Number one.
Yes, exactly. And then I have started to shift that from this journey and everything that I've been through. But so before, like I have a quote that describes it very well, but I said that I used to walk into a room and wonder if they like me. And now I walk in and I wonder if I like them.
Oh, wow.
And just to kind of get that switch from actually like just wanting that outside validation to knowing what you bring to the table. And I think first, like I had to understand it myself. And I've always been like a relationship person. I have lots of friends, and I have a lot of very good friends. And I think first, like you kind of tell yourself, and I know I've always been a genuine person with good intentions. But when you hear other people tell you that, you know, if you just are that person and you always come in with good intentions and you care about other people, you think that you are that. But then when you keep doing that and acting that way and people tell you, then you start to understand that it's actually true. And that's when I actually like started to define myself that way. Like now, like I come into this room, I don't care if you guys like me. You know what I mean? Like I will bring me, and you can take it or leave it. I hope you guys will like me. You know what I mean? But like
I do. I get what you're saying, because, you know, I think it comes from self-worth.
Yeah.
Really is what that boils down to, is if you value yourself in your heart, then you will attract the right people to you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's almost unfortunate that a tragic accident brought you to a place of healing beyond what you could have even thought you needed healing in, right? And so was it uncomfortable to let go of some of that, even like the whole performance, like your identity was once in performance and now your identity is in the comfortability, knowing who you are as a person. Did you struggle at any time?
Such a shift.
In between those two? Like what would it look like for someone else who may be in that very position right now, how they would get through that?
I think that I'm not going to say that I've struggled with it. I've struggled with obviously understand that I won't be that kind of performer. But I always still, I define myself still as someone, as a winner and as someone who wants to perform, but maybe just differently. So I think that you just have to kind of shift it, you know, because I can also be a winner. Like I talked to one of my best friends the other day, who reminded me that how many weddings I have been a bridesmaid in, for example. And to me, like, and telling me, like, do you understand, like, how many people in this world that you are number one for, or the top for, you know? And I think, like, sometimes, like, couldn't that be an achievement? You know what I mean?
Being
like,
a good friend.
Yes, being someone who, you know, like, so I think, too, like, you don't, like, to me, that's, like, a huge win, you know? Or
it's
even,
like, it's like reframing how you see that performance.
Yeah.
So you're not just performing on the ice. Now you're performing in your heart, or you're performing to improve other people's lives, or you're, you know, creating a feeling in people that are around you that make them feel special.
Yeah.
Like that's high performance.
I know. And same, like, if you have children, like, I don't have children yet, but if you do, like, to be the best mom, couldn't that be a performance? Like,
absolutely.
And so I don't think that we have to let go of that, you know? I never want to let go of it. I love that part of me. I just had to shift it.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, because a lot of people, they go to dark places and they feel like life is over, or they focus on what they're losing rather than what they're gaining. And your story shows so much of what you've gained and move forward with, which is why it's so powerful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So when I first had you, when you, the first time you told me your story, this was the part that I thought was so impactful for me. So at some point you realized you had two choices to make. It was either to stay down and stay in a dark room, because that's what they told you you had to do, or you needed to get up and make yourself into a different person. Can you walk us through that process that you went through?
Yeah. So doctors, like I said, told me that you will never get back to the person you were. And they told me basically straight up, like, you'll never be able to work full time or play hockey, whatever. So I understood my hockey career was over, and that was that I was okay with that. But then like I said, I aspired really high, like in my professional life as well. I always knew that hockey, I'm a female hockey player. Like, I knew I could never make good money off of it, no matter how good I get. Okay. So I always knew that, but to have them tell me that basically, like, what I heard them say when they say I won't be able to even work full time is that I hear they say, okay, I have two choices. Either I can live on government pay, sick leave, and not make any money, right?
Yeah.
Survive.
Because you're not allowed to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not, and just survive on that. And what kind of life is that? Okay. And then the second was, okay, let's say, because I'm stubborn. Like, I knew I could work full time, but then I probably wouldn't have any energy left for life, So to me, what I was given was a lose-lose. So I think here came like, okay, either I can pick of those two shitty options that I have in front of me,
Right. Yeah.
or I can make my own way, So
That's
I think,
awesome.
like, sometimes, like, it's not just what's right in front of you. It's not always what's clear and right here. I think you sometimes have to look beyond that and find, like, solutions, and that's kind of what I did. So I started a business. So I built distribution channels to products online. So basically, I saw a platform where I could start, and this was funny because I started this when I was in a very bad shape. Um, and I said no. So what I saw was a way to build something where I could get paid off the value I create and not the hours I put in. And what they had told me, I won't have the same engine as I used to have, because I had an engine. I could outwork people, but now I knew I couldn't. So I had to find a way to build something smart, something with leverage, something where something can flow, So I found that. And then doctors told me I would never get well. So people told me, like, my friends and family even had an intervention with me when I started it. And they all sat me down and said, what are you doing? Like, you cannot start something right now. You don't have energy for life, because I said no to everything. It was just a very bad spot. But what I saw was the way out. And I saw the only way out and the only way to build a meaningful life for myself and something that I really believed in. But they couldn't see that, but it was from love, right? So the advice from friends and family were terrible, but they came from love.
Yeah. Yeah. They wanted to protect you.
Yeah, they did. But to me, like, because they said, oh, you can do that. You can do that later. But doctors told me I'll never get well. So what am I going to wait for? Wait 5 years to start then and be on square one? So
Why bother waiting? It's like they're telling you that you're going to be in the same position in 5 years.
Yeah. So to me, it was like, I have to start from where I am with what I have. So I literally, at that time, I was on and off from my work. I was a project manager and a business developer in Sweden. Had a, good job. It was awesome. And I had great people, like anyway, so I had a good situation, but I came back every day from work. I cried and slept for a few hours. I was just a train wreck. My brain was just so tired. But then every night I put at least an hour into my business to build something, and people couldn't understand it. But for me, because I said no to everything else, I didn't have energy to hang out with someone or go to a dinner or to. But for me, like, that's what I needed, and that's also what I did. So I built that up part-time, and beside everything, had to really be structured and focused. And it was it was everything but a walk in the park. And I have had meetings, puked in between meetings to look myself in the mirror, ask myself how bad I want it, and go back and have another meeting, because I knew I had to just put some into it, if I wanted to get the output. So after a year, I could leave my job, and I've been just running a business now for the past about 6 years full time, just from my phone, and been able to just be very flexible and work around my health and around my head. So
That's great.
It's different.
That's great. You have a really good head on your shoulders. I mean,
you.
you really do.
Yeah, thank you.
And when I think about how empowered you were to just jump right in against all odds. Did it take even you some time to trust that that was the right thing to do? Or did you just say you didn't care and you were blown through it?
I wish I could say I didn't care. Of course I cared. And it was a roller coaster, like I think everything is. And especially I think that we all can agree, like if we go through tough things, it's hard to make changes in our lives. I think it is. And then I also think like when you go through things where you're not in the best mental space that you could be, or you're not feeling your best, even if you have a bad day, right? Right,
Yeah.
it goes up and doubt and
Yes.
fears and everything like that. So of course it went like that, but I was still so certain. I felt that certainty, not that I even like believed in it or believed in myself. I was certain that I could do this, and that I could. I knew, because I know what I bring to the table,
That's
and I
remarkable.
know that I can, if I really want to achieve something and I really believe and I do it with the best intentions, and like I know I'll be able to. So I think I'd never wavered if like to give up or give in to, like my play the victim, or
Circumstances, yes.
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it was a lot of ups and downs, and it looks like now it looks like such a nice and easy road, but it was far from that.
I think you were gifted with strength and perseverance. And when you think about your hockey career, I mean, being a female hockey player, tell us a little bit about how you got involved in hockey, because I feel like that those skills that you were given is exactly, you said yourself, well, I don't think I would have been able to make a whole living out of
Yeah.
being a female hockey player. And so in a way, you were gifted with those attributes or talents or, personality traits. And those are what maintained and served you later in pushing through not being able to play hockey, right? Being able to survive and now inspiring others through that same set of qualities.
Yeah.
So how did you even get involved in hockey? Just to back up a minute, because that to me speaks to your personality a little bit.
Sure, sure. So first of all, I was skiing. So I'm from the north of Sweden. We had a lot of snow. It's way better weather in Naples. But so I was skiing, and then every time after my skiing, I had to always wait for my brother's freaking hockey practice. So I had to sit there for an hour. And then I'm like, there's no way I'm doing this. So I'm going to play hockey too. That's what I said. But I was maybe 6 years old or something. And then I started, and I never looked back. And like I grew up playing lots of different sports, but then it ended up being just hockey. I played with guys until I was 18, which is a long time
Yeah.
if you're a female playing with guys. I had the best team, and I've always been strong, and I've always been like fast and strong. So I had that going for me growing up. But after that, I had to shift over to playing women's hockey, and then so I got a scholarship to go to college. And this is also a funny thing. So when I was about 10 years old, or even younger, I don't know, I told everyone I was going to play Division 1 college hockey in US.
Oh.
I had never been to America. People had they were like, yeah, sure. Everyone had these dreams of national team and everything. I had seen some of the best female hockey players in the world go to college and play for the highest league here. So that was all I aspired. So I said that really early. And I think that's a little bit who comes to what came from like trusting myself, because I've always been good at doing what I say I'm going to do. So even this part, when I just said, I threw this out when I was little, I even said like when it came about my corporate career, when I was little, people asked me what I wanted to become when I grow up. And I said, I want to be a boss. and then I grew, and then I grew a little older, and I said, I want to be a CEO,
Yeah.
not knowing at all what that would mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that, and then that happened, and I was a college hockey advisor traveling all around in Europe, watched me play, asked if I wanted to come over, and then I got a scholarship to go here, and I was up there for 4 years and played the best hockey of my life. So yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Incredible. That's incredible.
yeah.
Okay, so let's shift into after you made the decision to move forward. Now you began building your digital business
Yep.
with very limited energy. What made you believe that was possible? And tell us a little bit about that business that you are working toward now.
Yeah. So like I said, like what what made me believe it was possible was a lot just me. And also in my head, I was also like, what option do I have? It was the best option I had ever seen. And I knew I had to make that shift, right? So basically, so I build distribution channels to products. So mostly, so one part skincare, which you guys would like, most people would like laugh when I said that was gonna work. So my beauty background is shampoo in my face after hockey.
Right?
So one part of it, but it's high tech, high advanced skincare, whatever. Not my thing whatsoever, but I tried it. I had other people try
Your
it.
skin is beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. But anyways, I realized that it was something that I believe can create a lot of value. But then the other part that I'm more into is the wellness side of things. So I have a wellness scanner. So you put your finger on it, and in 15 seconds, it measures kind of like your antioxidant values and cell protection in your body. And then I have some high quality supplements that I can offer people with like money back guarantees and stuff. So so as a hockey player, I've always taken a lot of supplements, and I believe in that, but I think it's a terrible world because everyone says they're the best. No one knows what works. But today, like most of us, we need more nutrition. We need, because if you look at like, which I think is scary, like the lifespan and health span right now, like we live longer, but we're sick for longer. So just like to be able to impact that in a genuine way and like and legitimizing the supplement industry a little bit. So I work with like supplement subscription, and I build distribution channel, and I have this little device and I put in hands of professionals and they build. So I have like just a bunch of like distribution for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So takes makes my life flexible.
That
But
is
it's been a hard work, of course, but super fun.
yes, and developing self-leadership.
Yeah.
When you look at how did you learn to pace yourself differently from where you were to where you are now to be able to do all of the things you're doing that they told you weren't going to be able to do,
So the question is about self-leadership, like how
and how you learn to pace yourself through that.
still learning, always still
But you
learning.
look like you're doing a great job. I mean,
Thank
to
you.
hear what you're saying, again, we would never even think your story came out of a
Thank you.
tragic accident.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're sort of bucketing your days, right? Like your
Yeah.
time is spent in categories.
Yeah.
So can you explain that to us a little?
Yeah. So some days are great, and I can have good energy and I can say yes to most things. But some days I am in a dark room. Some days I say no to everything still. It's been a little bit up and down. I have periods where everything is fine, and I'm gonna say mostly now, not always, but mostly I can say yes to things, but sometimes it's not fun to go to social gatherings with a pounding headache,
Yeah.
because you
Can't enjoy yourself.
you can enjoy yourself, so then I can choose to say no. But no, so I usually sometimes I wake up, okay, I'm about, let's say, 50% of the days I wake up, my head feels like I ripped 10 tequila shots the night before.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
That's awful.
So just to give you guys a perspective, I literally, like, about half of the days, that's how I wake up.
Yeah.
But then usually that shifts. And it's honestly been a little better since moving to Florida. I think it's in Sweden now. Usually I'm in between Spain and Sweden a lot, so I don't spend all the time in the cold. But when we do, it's that darkness, So here just to wake up to sunlight, I think that helps
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so usually I can be a little productive in the morning, and usually I have higher energy. I told you before, afternoons for me, I do absolutely nothing. So I really have had to like plan rest, and I also crash if I don't, because I am still working on finding a balance, and some days I'm really good at it, and then I'm good to can do something, and then I have to really just like step out of it to I meditate, or I go for a walk, or I go to the gym to just really, really turn off. When I do that, then I can be good to be productive again. But if I push towards that, I can be done for the day and be just in a bad place with my head. So yeah, but usually just some productivity, go to the gym morning, after lunch-ish, I have about 4 hours where I don't do anything, really sometimes.
Yeah,
And then usually I have more energy at night.
I think that's amazing though, how you've just paid attention to your body, you've listened to your
Yeah.
body, and then you're acting appropriately so that you can be in it for the long haul, really is what that's about, is about strategizing. And this is what my life is like. And so how can I make this work instead of just giving up?
Yeah.
Which a lot of people would probably do.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So at the beginning you had a corporate job and then you started a business. And at some point you decided to step out of your corporate job.
Yep.
And how did you know that the timing was right? And what kind of led you to make that decision to kind of make the leap, if you will?
So I think that it was a little bit done for me, and I'm going to explain why. So I believe things happen for a reason, and I believe in I think we all believe in something. I believe that the universe has always like kind of guided me. So when this happened, so I was a project manager and my project was about to be done, and then something, I'll be personal here, but so I lived in a town 2 hours away from my hometown, and I have one brother who lived in my hometown, and he got his first daughter, and she passed away after 7 months. Oh, my goodness. And this was within my first year in business. And it was with my head and everything being, but then this happened, and I came to a point, it was in May, I remember it, and I could decide, like, do I want to stay here, take on another project, keep working here? But I sold my place, I quit, I left, and I went back to my hometown and just felt like I just had to be by family,
Yeah.
So for me, like, I looked at it and I was like, okay, can I survive off this business? It was about 1 year after I started to build it part-time with very limited energy. And I decided, yeah, I can survive. I didn't make a ton of money, but I made enough so I could, meet ends month,
Make ends meet.
Exactly. Yes. And that's when I also had to, like, okay, I just felt like everything was kind of lining up, like, and I was like, okay, it is now or never. I think that I had to jump before I was ready. Mm-hmm. And I think too that I had to be there for my brother and my family. And so it was kind of just like a no-brainer for me. And after that year, when I just decided to jump, that's when I had my biggest business growth too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know sometimes we're pushed into decisions that and you probably look back and think, I would never have made that decision had it not been for the crisis.
Yeah.
Right.
I probably wouldn't. I probably would have been scared.
Yes.
But now something bigger was there, and you kind of forget about fear. I didn't even care about my head or anything. Then it was family and be there for someone you love, But I think sometimes like things happen to push us in the right direction. And then I think we just have to be brave enough to kind of follow that lead. Yeah.
I would like to say, with your family, your parents have done an excellent job raising you into the young lady that you are. And to have, not everybody would have packed up and moved back home. They would have been long distance supporters.
Yeah.
And that speaks very highly of your family as well.
Oh,
so I just want to point that out, that that is beautiful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll tell them.
Or they can watch.
Yes.
Well, and sometimes when you give up the corporate job, it allows you to totally focus on the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
And like you said, your business took off at that point. And so you're not, sort of double dipping in the two careers. You know that it's that, what do they say? If something about burning the boats, you can't go back,
Seriously.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
and to me too, with like the limited energy that I had, like, I don't think my business would have taken off if I didn't do that.
Trying to do both at once.
Yeah. So sometimes like, even like when people try to like make those changes, I sometimes think like you have to be brave enough to jump before you're ready to really like you said, burn the boats. Like, if you're obviously, you have to be able to swim a little bit. But
yes, for sure. For sure. So you're living a life filled with purpose and meaning now. So how does this version of your life compare to what you once envisioned?
Very different. So like I said, I envision myself as a top global CEO, which obviously we know what everything that comes to. That was actually like a part of me, like going from, so I always like, that's what I always aspired. And I really like romanticized that I think, but then like in my corporate job, I started to work pretty much only towards high up management and CEOs. And I'm saying that because that's what I thought I wanted to be.
Okay.
And I realized that none of them had the life that I wanted, because it was a lot of stress, pressure, people not seeing their families enough. Like, I'm not saying that's everyone,
Isolation.
but
Yeah.
it was for a lot of the ones at the top
Sure.
that I saw. And a lot of people didn't love their lives. It was just, oh, this, working. And they were incredible people. And they had worked so hard for so many years, climbing that ladder. So competent, amazing people, good leaders. But I looked at their lives and I'm like, is that it? And I asked myself, like, if I reach all my goals and dreams, I get that. Yeah, a great salary,
Yeah.
and a
It's
nice
a
business
grind.
card.
It's a grind.
Yeah. So to me, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just realized that that's not what I want. I want to be able to I want to make an impact in this world. I want to leave a mark. I want to leave a legacy. But I also want to live a life that I love. And I'm a traveler. Like, me and my partner Jacob, he runs a business too online, like working on the same platform. We run separate businesses, but so we've just been very mobile for the past years. And like I said, we spend a few months in Spain normally, and now we're here, and a lot of time in the Swedish mountains, while also always working hard and loving what we do. So yeah, so it's a different life, and I think, like, looking back, like, to what I thought my life would be in comparison to now, like, I'm far away from where I want to be and being done. Like, I still have a lot that I want to achieve. But I'm gonna say it's way better, and I'm
Amazing.
free in a completely different way that I didn't even, like, if you would ask me 7 years ago, before I understood that there was a different way of life, because I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I knew nothing about business.
Yeah.
I just thought I was gonna climb in corporate and do what people told me to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, so life just got a lot better, because I was just pushed in a direction where I had to maybe, like, be brave enough to do something I never thought was for me, and see beyond that and see what kind of life it could create for me. So instead of, like, looking for a career or a job or what's my thing, I kind of look like, hey, how can I create this lifestyle that I truly want to live?
Yeah, praise God. And that you answered kind of my next question. So, um, maybe you can add a little to it. It would be, how has the definition of success for you evolved through the years?
So probably that, yeah.
Yeah.
To realize that before, like I said, I thought it was all about that. I don't know, like, money is one thing, and I before I was think I was more money. I still love money. Oh my God, money! Like, seriously, like, oh my, come on, I'm not gonna be. But I love money for the
Freedom.
the freedom and the choices that money
And the
can
right
bring.
reasons,
Like, that allows you to spend more time with the people you love. It allows you to travel. It allows you to, like, of course. So it's not that, but I think before it was so much more like that business card that I don't know, but I really did romanticize being, like, climbing and being at that top, versus now, like, the people in business that like, the people that I see are most successful are the people that I see live just happy lives, the people that can live a life of freedom, spend time with the people they love, and, like, have both time and money,
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, just live
And
different.
being so young, it is remarkable that you have such insight and being intuitive to be able to project that vision. Most people don't learn that until they've done it for 50
Yeah.
years, and they look
Yeah.
back and they say,
Yeah.
they don't say, I wish I could have made more money. They say, I wish I could have spent more time with my family.
Yeah.
And so that is, the word I have for you is remarkable. You really are just a remarkable young lady.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So
Appreciate
tell us
that.
a little bit about your life now. I know that you and Jacob are from Sweden, but you've been in Spain quite a bit, and now you're here. You're fairly new to Naples, right?
I am.
Tell us
Yes.
about that.
Well, so basically, yeah, very, very mobile. So I've just been running this business full time for, I guess, almost 6 years now.
Okay.
Which obviously, so I'm just running it through my phone. So it's been like, been able
That's so
to.
amazing.
That's amazing.
Incredible, isn't it? That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, the world is different, and there are, like, obviously, I always laugh that there are so many opportunities out there, but there's some good one in long term, and there's some crap, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there are different ways of working today, and that's kind of what I realized that I had to do to be able to. But no, so we've So my family have a place up in the Swedish mountains. So we are big on like snowboarding and we snowmobiling. Like I love snowmobiling. We have a bunch of them up there. So we do that a couple months every year. And then we spend a lot of time in Spain because then Jacob's part of the family. They're a lot in Spain. So it's kind of been, and then we have a place in Sweden. So we have been a little bit all over there. And then we also travel a lot around in Europe. And then, yeah, since I lived here in Minnesota too, I've always been a lot back and forth to the US. I've always loved the US, mostly because of the people, because people in the US are just so friendly. I don't know if you guys have like been to Europe or noticed the difference between Europeans, but like people in Europe are a little more closed off before you get to know them. They can be super nice.
Yeah.
But here, like I always have felt so just welcomed with arms wide open, you know. I say that every time I just land the airplane in the US and I meet someone like, you know, like,
Yeah.
or, you know, giving me a compliment or
Yeah.
or saying like, how are you? And I just like get energy right away. I've always felt very at home here. So yeah, so now we have a situation where we'll be a little bit back and forth here is what we're hoping. So right now we're here until end of March.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's hard with visa situation to just move to the States. Unfortunately, we both love Naples. So yeah,
And
really
so
happy to
what
be
brought
here.
you specifically to Naples?
So one of my best friends from college actually lives in Estero.
Okay.
So I have been here a few times, and so I had last year. I actually had a bit of a setback with my head. So like I said, I've had a headache and these problems for 7 years. And last, actually, pretty much 1 year ago today, something shifted, and I had to go into emergency and stuff, thinking something really went wrong, and I had to stop. So I basically didn't touch my business for 6 months, and I could basically not work out for 6 months. I was on the couch a lot. And that was just last year, which I haven't been that bad in 7 years. So something shifted.
Yeah.
And I think it was just something with me, like not being burnt out, but because I wasn't stressed at all. But I think my brain, I had pushed it maybe too much. So it was like, it was like, okay, you need to chill now, you know? And I learned a lot from that. But at that time, we were in Sweden. And I had to just be inside in a dark room. I couldn't go to a cafe because I couldn't hear noise. So this was like last January, so a year ago. Couldn't hear anyone. I had some people come over, but it would be one person, and after an hour, I would have to tell you to leave because my head couldn't take it. So, and then it was just so dark and cold, and I was like, "There's no way I'm doing this." And then I actually called my friend in Estero, and I said, "Hey, I'm coming to visit." So I just booked a trip, super spontaneous. She's like, "Great." I'm like, "Yeah, perfect." I came here for a couple of weeks, to just kind of turn it all off and just be in sunlight. And I came here and I just felt incredible, you know? I just felt so good. And then me and Jacob have always loved the States. He's a big golfer. So obviously, and he's came to Florida a few times before playing golf and stuff. So we both were kind of like, oh, maybe we should like look at coming here, you know? So me and Alyssa, my friend, we went to look at a few like apartment developments where we could possibly rent. And we found one here in Naples that we just, like, I fell in love with it. And I FaceTime Jacob and I say, hey, we're moving to Naples. Hey, Suck, I trust you. Let's go.
That's awesome.
And then we figured everything out with like visa all of that.
Yeah.
And then we came here, and yeah, what a place. Like we love it. I love Naples, just the people and the place, obviously, like what's not to love. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the sunshine is really so important for our mental health, but
Yeah.
also Naples itself. You know, a lot of people that don't live here think of Naples as a place where people go and retire and watch TV and that's it. People come to Naples to be outside and be active and
Yeah.
engage in the community. And
Sure.
I mean, there's just so much going on all the time in terms of health and wellness too.
Yeah.
I really believe that the sunshine contributes to that. It gives us such an opportunity to be outside and you know,
100%.
I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking, did you ever hear the term limiting beliefs?
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, but I almost feel like you overcame those very early in life, where a lot of women, especially women I deal with, are struggling with a lot less of what you've gone through, and they feel so stuck.
Yeah.
And what words of encouragement could you share? What is that driving motivational piece about you that really does set you apart from most that go through, a lot. And to be able to be so driven, that determination. Can you speak into that about some people who really don't have that and they're fighting just to get up in the morning?
Yeah. And I think that a part of what's given me that is also purpose. So I think that sometimes when people talk about that they feel stuck, sometimes people can say like, okay, I need to make more money, or this rat race, or like stuck in different ways, or my health, whatever it is. But I think sometimes it just has to do with purpose, like that you really need to find something that can spark that fire in you, so you make that decision, because it's going to be a decision every single day, and it's not going to be easy, but it has to come from the inside. Like we've all heard like talking about like your why and like that, but actually finding something like that is so important to you, you know? And I think that's the whole key to it. And I think that's what's been the key. Like, I'm not a superhuman at all. Like, I struggle, and I've struggled a lot. But I think to just have something that is that important to you, so you kind of like, you know that if you don't do this, you'll let yourself down, you know? And if that's like what, because I also, sometimes I think like, we talk about dreams, whatever, and like this, but a dream can seem so far away. So sometimes I even think like, even that like it could come from like what you really not want to be, or what you want to get out of. That could be an even more driving factor towards why you have to make these small decisions. And everything, I think, comes down to daily actions. Like, you need to find something that you could do daily.
I agree.
Something small, that can just reprogram your limiting beliefs or
That's
your
it.
mind.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's like to rewrite your story. So if you were going to send a message to a woman that was watching this show today, someone that maybe either feels stuck or is in the middle of grief or loss, what would be, if you had to give them a message, what would that message be?
Okay. I'm going to be a little tough here, okay? I'll look into the camera here and I'll talk to you guys. But I would say that your excuses can be acceptable, but it's your choice to accept them. And
That's
I think
really good.
I think
Can you
this
say that
is-
again?
Your excuses can be acceptable, but it's your choice to accept them. So I think like when we go through things in life, and it was even like my darkest period was with my head and everything, and my niece who passed away, and like everything was really, really tough, And my excuses would have been acceptable. It would have been acceptable for me to just lay in my bed and do nothing and feel sorry for myself. That would have been, yes.
Yeah.
And people, oh yeah, like give me,
Yeah.
But it's, yes, you know what I mean? Like, and that's for so many people. Like a lot of us, we go through so many things that are tough, and it is acceptable to have as an excuse to not move or change or be better or be healthier or whatever it is. But you have to kind of accept that responsibility that you're making a choice.
Excellent.
So if you could speak to the version of you sitting alone in that dark room, the Caroline that was, all your dreams were taken away, you were in the middle, what would you say to that Caroline?
I would say that your life will be hard. Your life will be tough, but so are you. And I would say that the thing that probably took away most from you is also what gave you the most. And that if this wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't have the relationships I have today. I wouldn't like myself as much as I do. I wouldn't be as confident. And I wouldn't have this life, So yeah, it's been tough, and I wouldn't lie to that version of myself that my life will be tough, and it is tough. And sometimes I'm not the strongest person in the room, and sometimes I also have my breakdowns, and I don't think it's fair. And why do I have to live with this every single day? Sometimes I have those days too. But again, and I think that's okay. Sometimes you have to let that go to be able to get up. But after that, it's always going to be your choice.
Yeah. That's excellent. What took away the most also gave you the most.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good right there.
Well, thank you so much, Caroline, for coming on the show today. This has
Thank
been an
you.
extraordinary story, and it's incredible to see, where you were in the beginning, your middle part of your story, and how you've come out on the other side. I think it's really inspiring. I think anybody that's watching will be inspired by your story and can make choices based on, rewriting their own story. And so we're so grateful that you're here today, and thank you for being on the show.
Really honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So we're gonna do we're gonna thank our sponsors right now, and we're going to prepare for our second guest. So we look forward to seeing you back in a few minutes. So, Debbie, that was pretty incredible listening to Caroline's story. It's amazing to me to think about the stories that women are walking around with that you wouldn't have no idea when you meet Caroline. I mean, she's this dynamic, beautiful, friendly person.
Yeah.
And it's just pretty incredible to hear about what she's been through and how she just continues on in life. What did you think of that?
I think she's remarkable. I think for her age, the wisdom.
Yeah.
And I love how she just curated some of her phrases to they're like wisdom bombs. They're things that legacy takes down in history with.
Yeah.
The one that she said, what took away the most out of her life also gave her the most.
So true.
Not many people can say that about severe crisis or trauma in their life.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so powerful. And then also she said, I'm not a superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
And I instantly thought about Linda Carter did a interview years ago, and she had filled up with tears, and she said so many women walk up to her in her role as Wonder Woman and say how much she inspires them, like that we are like Wonder Women, right? Yeah. And so she said that touched her in such a way that women need to know that we are all Wonder Women. But I was thinking, it's almost like it is the wonder of the woman that we get to see the power of that.
Yes.
And then that is so inspiring. Like that is like, I have goosebumps just thinking about all that she's been through and all that she's still going through. And she is making the best of her life. And we could share that with many people to inspire them where they're struggling.
Yeah, I mean, this is really one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this series, this show, because, I've been, in community with women for many, many years. And I meet so many women. And when I hear their story and they open up, not just with me, but with the other women, the validation, the sense of belonging that comes from that, when someone opens the window into their soul and really puts on display the struggles that they're having, you don't feel sorry for them. You feel validated by that.
Yes.
You feel like I'm not alone, and you understand the importance of being vulnerable. Sometimes when someone asks you, "Oh, do you want to be vulnerable?" you shy away and say, "No way, that's weakness."
Yeah.
But when you see someone else doing it, it's very powerful, and it appears to not only be an attractive quality, but also a strong quality.
Yes.
It exhibits strength. So I think it's so important for us to be brave enough and courageous enough to share our stories. It helps ourselves, but it also helps to build community and helps to validate others.
And in that community that we build, it's all about women elevating women. And it's eliminating the drama and the jealousy and really understanding we're also very unique and wonderful inside. That once you get to learn the wonder of a woman, it's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also women of our age, we're a little older than Caroline. But I think when you get to our age, you don't just have one story. You have story after story after crisis after crisis. And we're still putting on the front. We're and I think that's important. I mean, I think you have to survive, and you have to go out in the world and present yourself in a certain way in order to continue to move forward and to continue to maintain your level of confidence. But at the same time, as we age, our library of stories enlarges. It gets bigger. And when you have an opportunity to share that with other women, it's truly an extraordinary experience to start to learn what other women have been through.
And it's what binds us together.
Yeah.
It really does, because then we resonate with what other people have gone through, and we can learn from them. We can encourage them. And sometimes it gives us hope and understanding we may have went through something to help somebody else.
Yeah.
And so there's gifts in all of that.
Yeah, and this is what step into grace
That's right.
for me really means is, we've come together as women in community, but now each and every one of us can step into our own grace and show the power of resilience and strength and courage. So I'm very happy that we're doing this and that
I
you're here
love
with me
that.
today.
I love
And
what
we're
you're
ready for
doing.
our second guest. And so I'm so excited. So speaking of these powerful stories, our next guest is another woman whose journey carries incredible lessons and insights. She has her own lived experience, her own turning points, and her own story of growth and resilience. We are so honored today to welcome her into this space and to continue this conversation together. So let's welcome our next guest, Caryn. And why don't you step into your grace today, Caryn? Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. So, Caryn's story is not linear, it's not singular, and not easily summarized. It is a life shaped by resilience, intellect, motherhood, trauma, healing, love, and continual reinvention. She is a psychotherapist, an author, a mother, a grandmother, and a woman who refuses to let labels limit her growth. Caryn, thank you so much for being here and for trusting us today. We're excited to have you in this space today. So you write that you were born strong, arriving into the world fighting. How do you see that early beginning shaping the woman that you became?
I am in very many ways very similar to my mother. I think more so than my dad, although I did get some great qualities from him. And I was supposed to be a C-section baby, and they waited too long. And pictures of me after birth, I am all bruised up.
Oh, goodness.
So, and there were studies that were done on babies like me that even from the beginning, they had to fight to live, they had to fight to be here. And they find that babies that underwent trauma early on, well, just like everything else, had a decision to make. And so if my mother just died a few months ago, but my mother would say, I've been a fighter. I've been very strong since the moment I was born. And I have two siblings who are very traditional, very different than me. And my dad used to laugh that I looked like the milkman Steve, which, I would shoot my mother a look like, oh my God, and then they'd all laugh. So I don't think it's true. But I did. I grew up in a family where I was different, and I certainly challenged my parents in that way.
Wow. So how does that idea of being born strong land for you now, like later in life? Have you seen that
I'm
play out?
grateful. I am so grateful. No one, and today we're talking about women. So no woman goes through life without trauma, without pain, without having to figure out who she is at different stages. I am much older than everyone in this room. So, and I think that has changed as I've aged and looking at what I've had to deal with and where I needed to be. Those are choices. So, yeah, I would use that strength and figure out what I didn't have in that phase or that moment. And I'd go after finding whether it was education or it was experience or it was connection, or I just kept,
Yeah.
moving the bar.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. It sounds like you earned a master's degree at 21, which is remarkable. Yet you say you wouldn't recommend that path. What do you understand now that you didn't at the time?
I understand that I was not mature enough to have that degree. I had a master's of science degree, and I didn't even, the jobs I was up against were for people much older with 10 years of experience. Here I am, and my hair was long, even longer than it is now. I've always had long hair, but varying. And the people at the university told me I should cut my hair so that I would look older.
Yeah.
because I've looked young since I was young. So now it's good, but back then it wasn't as good.
Right.
And I had to figure out what I was going to do with this advanced degree. Education was a safe place. I mean, I knew even then I'm smart. Okay, so now what am I going to do? So I finished school early. I went immediately into a master's program. I finished in a year and a half, and now I have an advanced degree. And so my first job was working in a school district in the Sangamon County in Illinois. And I was a social worker for 8 different schools, and I traveled around. It was a perfect place for me to figure out hierarchy. I had 8 principals I reported to. And the things I wanted to do were not being done in the small community. So I had to learn how to discern who was I could trust, what I could teach these kids they weren't going to get somewhere else, and how far I wanted to push myself. I was going into the countryside looking for kids who hadn't shown up at school, and I went by myself. And so as I did these things, I learned more and more about me. So I just think that looking at the end result prior to jumping in can sometimes be a good thing. Would I have wanted to wait? Probably not, but I could have gone with more preparation. My father's was a professor. Education was part of the family. This is what we did. But I think it was too much too soon.
I think you kind of answered this question for us, but do you see a difference between being capable and being ready?
Well, yeah, but the difference is not great, actually, because if you truly understand you're capable, then you're probably ready. And the difference is just, it's a thread difference. It's, I had a master's degree at 21. That didn't really mean I was capable. The first time I went into a therapy session with someone, and it was a woman who had accidentally killed her child by finding a old baby bottle full of milk under a couch and fed it to the baby, and the baby died.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Was I capable of dealing with it? Probably not. Did I find something within me to do the best I could, which turned out to be okay? Yes. So I think it's a breath away. It's a good question.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
staying in that same question, talking about how early you got your education, why is it that you were on such a fast track? Why, high school, bachelor's degree, master's degree? How is it? Explain to us, or just paint the picture of how you went at record speed to get to that place, and what was the reason for going so fast?
I actually still don't see it like that. So it's
Oh,
funny
okay.
to hear. It's like, what? Wait, who are
Yeah.
you talking about?
I had a master's degree, I think, at 31. So I mean, that was like way longer.
I came from, and I don't know. Yeah, it's really interesting. So it was my natural, I'm very linear in my thinking.
Okay.
I'm a very much a
Focus driven.
I put one foot in front of the other.
Mhm.
Oh, I might change, but I'm just one foot. So what else was I going to do?
Yeah.
To me, it was a natural approach to life. With my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My father's a professor.
Yeah.
So
you were familiar with college, how to get in, how to navigate with the professor and the family. Makes sense.
Well, no, but yes. I mean, those were things they weren't really talked about.
Yeah.
But I think I just knew till I figured myself out more, that was the place to go. Go to get more education, which is a part of me I have fallen back on over and over and over again. When I'm stuck, when I don't know what to do, I'll do 2 things. I will probably get some more therapeutic skill, or I'll find a good therapist always have their own therapist, something everyone should know. And the other part of that is, if I don't know something or I'm uncomfortable with something, how can I make a good decision? I will go get more education, in some way in that area.
Right. That makes sense.
So I
You
bought
need the
myself
tools,
time.
You need the skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to marriage, motherhood, and other things. So you were married young, and you've spoken honestly about that relationship being misaligned and unkind. How did that experience shape you as a woman and as a mother?
I didn't consider myself young then. So it's funny to hear.
Yeah.
So I suppose looking back, it was also a different time. That's when people got married. I think this generation is very smart in knowing that they should wait. And even I'm fascinated by all this talk about attachment styles and how does that work. And so, conversation for another day. But I love that and very intrigued by the advances just among general population in those areas. Some of it I don't think are quite right in the understanding, but I love that it's part of the vernacular now. So when I look back, Ed was my not childhood, but college sweetheart. It was pretty much the natural thing that you got married. And also, in and amongst that is to deny every red scary thing that you saw. I just don't know. We'll deal with that later. You don't pay attention to that. You move forward, which is very different than being really in love because I think we were. And I had infertility problems. I was thrilled when I got pregnant with Dylan, who's now 41.
How old were you when you got married and got pregnant?
I was 22 and a half when we got married, and I was 30 when I gave birth to Dylan, just before 30. Yeah. So I was, and back then that was the line.
Right.
You know, you didn't wait till 40, you 30. So, and Dylan was amazing, but I saw my husband changing. And my take home at the time that I have never forgotten, and I will never forget, is that one person in a couple, one person can break your heart. And you can't stop it. You can't change it. You can deny it until you can't deny it anymore. That alone is a very powerful thought. And it kind of makes you step back a little bit and go, moving forward. It's the fear I never had before, I then had.
It's like a loss of control.
It's a loss of trust.
Trust.
How do I trust another person to that extent? How do I really believe that they won't, leave me or replace me? Or, it was really a very painful time. And Ed and I, interestingly, with his, not new anymore, but he got remarried to a woman, I think she's 14 years younger than me, which was like, and but we get along really well. We do holidays together. Now, that took a long time to do. And I'll take credit for it because I am very focused on kindness and relationships of depth. Why would I want my son and his family to have to do two of everything? We did that. And so it's quite, I think, again, steps forward or steps into grace where now it's like, no, well, I'll organize it. We'll all get together and everybody gets along.
That's amazing.
It didn't happen at first. So.
Well, coming off that, my question for you is, what do you think children absorb even when we try to hide the truth?
Everything. Emotional expression on a very deep cellular level is not verbal. They absorb it. And so I look at my son and I think that I have been the constant in his life when his dad was not as around. Now he's back in Naples. He lives a couple miles from Dylan. That too took a long time to put together. But I think Dylan doesn't like when his kids misbehave. I think it scares him. I think that comes from a very deep place. I think the trust issue is also very important to him. One of the things my son does, I love my daughter-in-law. One of the things my son does is no matter what I say to him, including today, he texts me this morning, and I'm like, well, I've got these things to do today. He wanted to get together for dinner, but he immediately says, let me ask my wife. Yes. I think he learned by watching his mom be in pain.
Yeah.
And he gets anxious about it. But I think he's a very solid husband.
That's wonderful.
And that I'm very proud of.
Yes, great
You know,
job.
even whatever little part I had, the rest is
Sure.
Dylan and Dylan's personality. But
But you did a great job.
Yeah.
I think the collaboration ended up to be great.
Yeah.
And I won't take, more than that, because nobody gets married to go through pain. Nobody gets married to get divorced.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable. It was unbelievable to me
Yeah.
that was occurring, and now I had to deal with it. And what did it mean at that time? What did it mean going forward? Could I sustain my life on at that point I was in private practice. Could I do that in private practice salary? How was I going to do that? Dylan was going to come home from school. What was going to happen? I would be in an office. It was real, very fast, very fast.
That's tough. That's really hard.
Well, and not everybody, but huge percentage of women have gone through that moment
yeah.
Yeah.
and had to figure out what they wanted to take from that,
Mhm.
which I think is the crux.
So I know you're an author, and if you can sort of walk us through, just give us a little more context on how long you guys were married and how old Dylan was when your marriage broke apart, and then that your first book grew directly out of that rupture. So what did writing give you that therapy alone could not give you? So kind of walk us through like how it all happened, and then the part with the book that you wrote.
I think it was very organic for me. Altogether, Ed and I were married 14 years. It was a long time.
Yeah.
But, there were some bad years in those 14 years. So we're not going to judge them. We're just as they were. Dylan, but I knew that things were not in a good place for him. He was miserable. So I think Dylan was around 6 then. It kind of went on. Then Dylan's 8. Then Dylan's closer to 10. Somewhere in there, I started to write, and I brought you copies. So the first book was A Bully Grows Up, Eric Meets the Wizard.
Wow.
And I combined my worlds. So my world as a therapist, I heal through stories. I heal through using therapeutic technique that is proven, and I'll wind it into a storyline so that healing happens for the other person quietly.
That's amazing.
And I think I might still be the only person to write to the bully and not to the target. And this was a long time ago. So even at that time, it didn't make sense to me to write books for the target. Like if you have less bullies, guess what? Then you have less targets. So it was a story on attachment, and which I've studied for decades. And one of my mentors was the godfather of attachment theory, and I learned directly from him. So there are certain things that go into place when good attachment takes root and takes hold and is healing. And so this is a story of a bully who falls asleep, wakes up in a magical land, and meets a wizard. And through that connection, and then there's a dragon, but through the connection with the wizard, that little boy heals.
Wow.
And it's the story of the power of love, that you really can't have too much love. Not if you're if your eyes are open along with your heart, you can't have too much. That was the first one. And Dylan would act out the scenes. So I would tell him the scene I was working on, and he would start jumping around and take out, he was explaining to me the next piece, and then I could weave in that storyline. So this book, actually, it's pretty old now. It did very well in school systems with parents, grandparents, and I did a lot of conferences around that.
What's the name of the book?
A Bully Grows Up, Eric Meets the Wizard. So,
Well, my next question for you is, I think you've kind of answered it already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What happens when we turn pain into something purposeful? And I think that's kind of what your book kind of did for you.
the book was part of that.
And what else would you say would add to
I
that?
think purpose is a funny, let me think. Purpose is a funny word because purpose can mean so many different things. So directing it and making it concrete in this way was very helpful for me. And I knew it would also be helpful for other people. And I carried that along in the second book I wrote, which took a really long time to do, that same purpose-driven focus. But I think purpose can also be in how I carry myself, how I wanted my son to see me struggle and then eventually heal. And what I came with skills, more than most people. So I was drawing and I was creating vision boards and I was doing all kinds of stuff about the life I wanted. I was talking to the universe still talks back to me. But that was from very early of, okay, I tried, but I can't change what's happening right now. I'd like to, I can't. Who am I going to be?
Yeah.
What do I want for, it was me and Dylan. What do I want?
That's such powerful modeling for him to, you're not just telling him about things, you're showing him things.
I didn't hide.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at that.
Yeah.
So,
well, it sounds like you continued working as a therapist while you were rebuilding your life, even moving your practice into your home. What was that season of your life like?
scary.
Mm-hmm.
But the work I have done I retired after 34 years. I loved my work. I loved every day of my work. I did really cool, amazing things with that degree. I worked with people who were on trial for murder. I worked with people that had been in cults in their family. I ran a hotline, and I did primarily trauma-oriented therapy with kids and their families. And I always felt surrounded by love, by who I was working with. Some of them still find me now. I worked in residential treatment with emotionally disturbed boys that were court placed. Occasionally, they still find me. That was in Kansas City. It was a long time ago. And when there was a hurricane here, I got notes from people I hadn't heard from asking if I was okay.
Wow, that's incredible.
But that's that attachment. You touch someone on that deep level, which I love thinking about attachment and what it does and the pieces that need to be in place, because I'm looking at what you're putting together, and you're creating attachment on a very deep level with the women that you're touching, some of whom you're doing it from a distance. It's very powerful, and I honor that. And I think it's a fabulous step into the world of women and love.
Yeah, it really drives me forward, because a lot of times you touch people and you don't know the difference or the impact that you're making, and then when they come and tell you, it's you're almost caught off guard, because you just don't realize who needs whatever it is that you have to say, or whatever action that you're taking is making a difference.
And I think along the way I learned to trust what came to me from beyond me, which I think is kind of what you're talking about. I trust that voice and I trust that direction. So when that would happen, I felt humbled by it. It's like beyond me. I did something cool and I didn't really know. Oh, that's cool.
Definitely a God thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Wow, that's powerful. So it sounds like you were the strong person for not only for yourself and your son, but all of the people you served. Is there a cost that comes at being the strong one all the time?
Yes and no. So in my own family, I'm different than my brother and sister. They're not strong like me, but as a grown up, I now see their strengths or what they're good at. Where when I was younger, no. And I felt like a lot fell on me, or my mother would call me and say, you need to call your sister, or you need to blah, blah, blah. I mean, she was always that really powerful force, pretty much till the day she left. So was there a cost? I don't know. I would call it a cost.
Okay.
I think there are pluses that come from that, and often you're misunderstood, or sometimes when you're in your own pain and I'm still supposed to be talking to clients. Going through my divorce, that was hard. When I had a hysterectomy, that was hard because I really wasn't myself and they needed me in my chair. Is that a cost? I don't know. I would label it that way. I just think it was. And then, you move forward and you come back into your own sense of who you are.
Yes.
Hopefully, eventually.
So let's move on. I know that, at least from what I understand, for a period of time, you kind of gave up on men.
Yes.
And then you met Fred. So
Yes.
tell us about that. You said that you asked the universe for financial security and learned the importance of that specifically. What did the relationship teach you?
So that was, toward the end of the marriage, and a girlfriend brought me to Naples. I was not living here. She brought me to Naples, and her mother, her stepmom, left a note saying, "Here's where you should go. Go to the Witch's Brew." Yeah.
The Witch's
Oh,
Brew.
do you?
Yes.
All right.
I've been
Well,
here a
so
lot.
we went to the Witch's Brew because her stepmother left us a note, and I learned that was just such a period of growth. I looked like I was, 17,
Yeah.
and we go there, and no one will talk to me, and no one will ask me to dance, and no one. I mean, I was like in this bubble that I couldn't get out, and I tried to get a drink. No one paid attention to me, and some guy came walking up, and he said, "Oh, you trying to get a drink?" I said, "Yes, I have my own money." Like I do. I mean,
Yeah.
like really, And it turned out his friend was Fred. And Fred was on his way out the door. I never even saw Fred. Fred didn't see me. And then he called him back in, and there was something instantaneous that happened with Fred that to this day I will force myself to remember on occasion, and I'll honor it because there was this connection. Fred is absolutely brilliant. He didn't look like anybody I would ever date.
Yeah.
He was and is 10 years older than me. Something that, when I wasn't even 40. So this, the whole age thing is just so fascinating. I was like in my late 30s. So Fred was in his late 40s. Right. His world was very different than mine. Mm-hmm. So I ended up being he's a internationally famous surgeon. We traveled the world for him. Mm-hmm. We did these things for him. I had to negotiate where was Dylan going to be.
Yeah.
So I allowed my ex-husband to come into our home and kind of live there so he could look after Dylan. And while Fred and I was setting up the future, it was very hard on Dylan. So I don't remember the question.
Well,
Yeah.
the question really is just tell us. Let's see, where is the question?
About meeting Fred.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
let's see.
I
You were
remember.
married young. Okay. Here we go. You said it was the financial security
Yeah.
and the importance of that specifically. So, take into consideration the lifestyle change and how did that impact you and your life when, you just sort of caught off guard by meeting this person and now your world changes.
It's fabulous.
And you have to adjust. Right?
It was fabulous. He was in another state and had a house here.
Mhm.
I mean, was it perfection? No. I mean, he too at that time was ending a marriage. There were magical pieces of it, and there were pieces of, terrible reality
Mhm.
that I then had to decide once again, who am I?
Mhm.
Who am I and what am I wanting? And how am I going to negotiate this? And how does it affect other people? And what happens to the person closest to my soul, which is Dylan? And how do I do that? So on the one hand, the universe brought me exactly what I asked for, which is financial security. Fred has been amazing. Fred also came with a lot of kids. I did not think about that.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, now this took a lot of years to work into the position of stepmom.
Mhm.
And I am grateful to say now that when I look at family, it's a blended family, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of education of Caryn along the way, and I had to learn about what is the role of a stepmother and how do you do that without crushing someone, and what to do when it doesn't fall into place nicely, and how do you perceive yourself. And because there were some of the kids, it was easy. They were young and there were certain things they needed, but there were others that it was not easy. And so I think that I always had to come back to a reorganization of me
Mhm.
and what do I want from me and who do I want me to be. I try to always be able to look in the mirror and be proud of who I see. That has guided me.
That takes us back to the beginning of being that strong person, that you're strong enough to be thoughtful about everyone around you, not just yourself, but you really took in the layers of
I did.
everything you had going to make sure you were.
And in the beginning, I think part of the jargon is now, oh, that person's a narcissist or this is a narcissist. Okay, that didn't exist back then. It was just in the beginning. It wasn't taught in therapy school. I had to sort out what that meant in my world. I read everything since that point. I've read every book that has come out. I have taught that to Dylan. I have now beginning to teach that to the grandkids. You can't change someone's personality.
Mm-hmm.
You can comprehend it,
Mm-hmm.
and then the adjustment is here. So how do I adjust my world so that I can be around so-and-so on whatever that issue is? But narcissism was a big one. And some other personality disorders that's my speak. In my brain, that's how they show up. And now I need to kind of understand it. And it's not easy. It is not easy. That is not a world Fred's comfortable in, of that type of diagnosis. He's, surgical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an emotional type of thing or a personality thing. So that has also been my friend, my ability to do that, to understand someone and at a really great depth. And then I don't alter my behavior, but I probably would set up boundaries around me.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
Excellent.
So now you're a mother, your grandmother, stepmother, and a writer again. So
Again.
let's move into this phase and tell us, how do you experience this chapter of your life? This is an entirely different kind of book.
Oh, yes, it is.
So tell us about this. We're interested
I
to hear.
brought you, this is the General's
Look at
Princess.
this. General's
It's-
Princess, okay?
All right, the General's Princess.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
It's not a skinny book.
No.
No. So I think indicative
It's a
of
beach book.
me-
Yeah, beach
Yeah. This book is a thriller, psychological thriller, but it's a romantic military psychological thriller. And I looked at not only issues within me, because they say write what you know. So I can write about pain. I can write about circumstances that I know personally, but I listened to thousands of stories of my clients. And so at what cost? That's why I think maybe I struggle, because I benefited. They taught me about things I would never have understood on my own. They helped me see the depth of what that did. And then I was a good guide in pulling them from that. So the book is also an honoring to every person that shared that story. There might be little tiny pieces that no one would know but me and that person that might have found their way into the pages. But it's a story of a woman from Naples who takes a job as a personal trainer for a princess in Saudi Arabia. And at the same time, there is a kidnapping that occurs in Mexico of a senator's daughter who's on vacation with her friends on spring break. That incident, or the beginning of that, actually happened when I was traveling with Fred, and Dylan was probably 12. And we were in Mexico, and we were by the pool very early in the morning. And a man appeared out of nowhere in a kaftan with lots of gold jewelry. And he came over to me. Dylan, there's no one else around. Dylan pops up out of the pool and gets out of the pool to come stand next to me. Like he just knew.
Easy.
And the man said, I have a private plane and I want to take you to see my country. Okay. I didn't go. I did say, this is my son and my husband's inside. And he went, oh, no matter. We take your son too. I'll have you back tomorrow. Now, this was so long ago, I had brown hair. So, and Dylan was very young. So what happens in the book is the main character, whose name is Kara, the personal trainer, is wandering the grounds of the Riyadh Palace, and she happens upon a brothel that's hidden in the back. And the girl that was kidnapped in Mexico was kidnapped for that. Now, this book took me 10 years to write, although I took 4 years off because I was afraid of what I was writing. Who's going to come after me? So, but I wrote the ending as if I was that girl and I was taken. So now people talk about human trafficking.
Gives me chills.
Nobody talked about human trafficking then. Did we tell the people in the resort? No. We waited and went home. There wasn't even a word to call it.
Yeah.
So much evolution has happened, and that has always stayed with me. And so there are trigger points in that book for people who have sustained trauma, but there's healings. And the other thing I did that was very different and unique, I think, is I realized I couldn't finish that book because now I've written myself into a corner and there needs to be military involvement. Like, who's going to go get these people? Now there's 2 Americans there at the same place that they don't know it. So I asked, who turned out to be my military consultant on the work, a retired general in Naples that I met because I was doing some volunteer work for the organization Home Base that he loves and he's a consultant for. And I asked him if he would help me with these things I didn't know, like what kind of gun did you, and And he did for 6 years till the book was finished.
Wow.
And so the military authenticity is all there. But that story comes through, and the issue of attachment, which I am in kindness, which is so powerful for me, is woven into those pages. So once again, there's healing as the book and the story moves along, and it's winning awards and it's doing really good. So I'm
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
great.
shockingly
It
happy.
sounds thrilling.
Yeah.
It does.
But it's not a kid's book.
No.
No, absolutely not a child's book. So
What would you say to women who feels they're boxed in by their past?
I have very strong feelings about that. Your past is that story of your past. You can hang on to it and it will keep you stuck. And you won't be able to grow, and you won't be able to visualize your future in a healthy way. So the past is your springboard. It's your foundation. It's to open your eyes, see where you came from, visualize where you want to be next, and push yourself. I mean, I know a lot of people, they hang on to the old story, and the old story is typically about abuse and neglect and sadness and trauma. And okay, there's time to grieve. There really is. You need to grieve. It's part of resetting, but your old story cannot be your present and your future story if what you want for yourself is a healthy inner life.
So, what's the best way for a woman to redesign those limiting beliefs or to allow herself to grow past that? What would be something that you might suggest that they try to do in order to break free from that box that they find themselves in?
I think taking an honest look on your own. You don't have to tell anybody else, and you draw out your own timeline. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, all the way up to present time. Then underneath that, write, what did you gain? Not what was taken. Those are the easy ones. What did you gain? There's a list. What did you gain from this one? Here's the list. If you take the gains or the awarenesses, it doesn't even have to be a gain. What did I learn about myself? What came of that? How did I grow it teeny little bit? That awareness, and then you can kind of rewrite that story. It'll start doing it automatically. So the trauma gets kind of switched around, and then you can grow. And the goal is not to become a new person, and it's not to disown your own past majority of the time, 99% of the time. It's not to disown your past. It's to recognize what it was and then take stock of who you are now. And I feel like I did this with my own parents, because I was not an easy kid to raise, not in the world of where they wanted and how they wanted to raise me.
Yeah.
I mean, very traditional, very middle of the road. And then there's this, little, I was full of light.
Spitfire.
Yeah, I know. And I'm bouncing all over the place. And they really tried to keep a thumb on my head. And I kept telling them, well, yeah, but I'm okay. I really am okay.
Yeah.
You don't,
I'm just different than you.
right. And you don't see me yet.
Yeah.
The last, I'd say 2 to 3 years of my father is still alive he turns 95 in a week.
God bless him.
And I'm going to Kentucky to be with him, and the rest of the family all lives nearby. But it took them until like the last few years to where they looked at me, and you could see this, like the veil lifted off. And so I had the beauty, and it was a beauty of my mom in particular, and my dad, telling me how much they loved me and how they saw who I was.
That's great.
But I think most people don't get that,
What a gift.
or don't go after that.
Yes.
I mean, I was relentless. I wrote them letters. There was just, no way that it was that kindness streak that has always been in me. No, I'm not. I don't have to accept your viewpoint, but especially when I've considered it and like, your fault. That's faulty. And I will help you learn really who I am.
Mhm.
And I think that's always been me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you opened the door so beautifully. At first, when you said, no, not talking about other stuff, just talk about you.
Yeah.
My first reaction was, well, I don't
Where
know.
did you come from?
Yeah, I know. I know.
Well, and I think going back to what you were saying about reframing, there's definitely something for me, at least, that happens when I write stuff down as opposed to keeping it up here. And I think our natural instinct is to think about the negative perspective on the situation, on all the situations or all the
Okay.
journeys in life.
Mhm.
And that what you're saying is to be deliberate about pulling out the positive, pulling out what was good. If there is something at all positive that you can look at about the challenges that you face, writing it down will clarify that, because naturally, for whatever reason, our mind goes to, this happened to me, this was awful, and you're swirling in that place. But when you
Yes.
take pen to paper and you start to pull out, well, what did I learn? Or how is my life different? Or how am I in a better position because of this challenge? That's where, you can really make progress.
Fred and I have discussions far too often about the words positive and negative.
Mhm.
I don't like them.
Yeah.
I don't like them because they label something that is not necessarily true.
Yeah.
So from me comes, let's not don't call it anything. Don't put a label on it.
Mhm.
That was a thing.
Mhm.
And I feel like that about histories. Those were things that happened. I really can't. Who am I to say if that's positive and negative? And you don't know that when it's happening. You can't. You can't know it when you're in the midst of grief, or you're, traumatized, or you have PTSD, or you're trying to sort the you can't. And now some things are terrible.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you have spent at least a year grieving whatever you lost in that moment, to where you can start to dig out. So time is a very important kindness that we have to give ourselves after sadness or trauma or pain. And then you spend the next few years creating that new plan. And then you see what the new plan does. Then you look back.
Mhm. You
Otherwise,
process, and then you have
yes.
reflection, and
But a lot of time has to pass, or you're still in the trauma.
Yeah.
And you called it a swirling. That swirling is so powerful. You can't get out of it. You can't you trying to deny it, trying to do all that isn't going to work. I have only a couple key people in my life. And one is one of my best friend, who I've been friends with forever, and since I was 20, 21. And she lives in Kansas. We talk every day. Her job is, if I can't find it myself, she reminds me who I am.
oh, that's great.
So having just one or two people who know you, they know your core, they know your belief system, they really do know, not garbage. They have to really know that that person can step in if you start to swirl.
Yeah, they remind and encourage and keep you grounded.
They just
Yeah.
everybody needs that. You needed a voice outside of your head. I think you were saying, you find it, if you write it down, it's concrete. The other thing that writing something down does is it starts to reform the words that have been tucked in your head, just merely by writing it down differently, with just a small little difference. One of the things I did in my practice is I used sand tray therapy, where I had a box. It looked kind of like a kitty litter box, only a little bigger. And it had sand in there. And I had 1,000 little people, trees, cars. And so I could say, make me in the sand create that memory for me. And then somebody would go run around and find all their little pieces or whatever. And there's something really deep about touching the earth and sticking your hand in there and then making a, it's 3-dimensional picture of what is in your head. I was, at the time, I used that a lot. I was working with people that were religious and other cults involved. And so a kid could come in and create something that he couldn't tell, like the police or whatever. Okay, then the beauty of it is I could say, let's change one thing. I want you to go into that. I see your world. You've explained to me. Change one thing. So there's the power of taking a perpetrator and digging them under the sand or taking yourself out and it automatically translates and changes something in the dialogue that's going on in your head. It's very
therapeutic.
Yes. Very cool.
I brought this just in case, and I do feel I'm going to share it because I feel like it goes with what you're saying. I wrote this years ago, and it says, our stories exist because God sends us through the pain to receive the passion to proclaim the power of his message through our praise.
I love it.
And I was listening to how you were saying how people can take their story, and if you could bullet point this for us, it was kind of about 5 minutes back, but you were saying if they walk through their grief and process it and like see what they didn't get or something, and then look to what they are getting. Kind of like what Caroline had said about.
I was thinking about her.
Yes, like she said, what took away the most also gave the most. If you remember what you were saying, can you bullet point that for our viewers and for us when we're grieving? How do we do that to kind of wrap up that grief as we walk through it and then take it and now move it on to the next step?
You can't do it in the middle of your grief.
Okay.
In the middle of your grief, your job is to actually feel all those beautiful human emotions that we have. That in some certain circles we're told not to have.
No, I don't want to.
You're right. You're right. I don't want to go there, or don't you go there, or don't tell me about that.
Yeah.
And we hear a lot of that. And I do think there's gender differences that also have to be brought into the comprehension of that. And which is another place where the fabulousness of being around other women who accept the emotional part of that with greater ease, I think. So, after you're getting through the grieving, not so much before, then it's time to look at, with honesty, what the grief was like. What did you go to? Did you cry a lot? Did you sleep a lot? Did you not eat? Did you, whatever it showed up like for you? And what did that mean for you? If I lose my appetite and I don't eat and I oversleep, what happens in my world then? Do you miss out? I don't know what it is. I never know anything until that person experiencing that shares that with me. But what happens then? And then if you overcame it or you changed it or now you see it on paper, what's going to be the plan to change that? I will make meals in advance. I will talk to my neighbor. Okay. I will call my family. It depends on if you're working on a disconnect, then who's safe in your world? Yeah. And I have a big rule, which you never tell secrets to people who are not safe. Mm-hmm. Even in that little teeny moment where you think they are safe. Mm-hmm. That's an honesty thing. If they're not, nope, sorry. Yeah. I don't share that. And I think we were talking the other day, you become better at this as you get older because you've practiced longer.
Yeah. Wonderful. Beautiful story of resilience and perseverance and such a journey, and how you use creativity to overcome and connect and heal all of not only just you, your family, but your patients. And we're so grateful that you came and shared with us today.
I'm so happy.
Tell us how people can find you and your books and connect with you if they want.
I am all over social media.
Okay.
As Karen Hacker
Okay.
Beagle. Hacker is a nod to my son.
Okay.
And, I'll give Ed a little bit of something with that. So I saved that name. Fred's last name is Beagle.
Okay.
So I'm Karen. It's Karen spelled funny, Caryn. So, you can find me on social media. I have a website, Karen Hacker Beagle, and I'm doing podcasts and talks. And I haven't started a sequel yet.
Okay.
And I need a little bit more time, because I'm reestablishing again who I am.
Mhm.
I did talks a long time ago, and I did big corporations in New York. I'd like to start doing mental health oriented speaking engagements again
That'd be wonderful.
while I'm selling books.
Yeah.
And while I'm speaking.
Well, thank you for trusting us with your story. It's been wonderful having you here
so
today,
much.
Karen. We're so
What a
grateful.
pleasure.
Del-
Thank you
it's
so much.
Delight for me.
Yes. And so as we close today, I want to take a moment to thank you, the viewer. And I also want to thank Debbie for co-hosting with me today. Your presence, your light, your thoughtful way of holding space adds so much to the conversation. And I'm truly grateful to have shared the lunch with you. I also want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our two speakers today, Caroline Markstrom, and of course, Karen, who's with us right now. Thank you both for your honesty, courage, and willingness to share your stories so openly. Your lived experiences, wisdom, and vulnerability are exactly why this show exists. We are deeply grateful for trusting us with your stories. And I'd also like to thank our sponsors for their support and belief in this work. A very special thank you to 239 Live for providing the studio space, the technical expertise, and the support that makes Step Into Grace Live possible. We are also so grateful for your partnership and professionalism. We want to thank 239 Live, Jira Media, Clean and Seal, TGC Plus, and the Playbook Sports Show. They are the sponsors of today's show. Step Into Grace Live is about real women, real stories, and meaningful connection, and we are just getting started. We'll be here every Thursday live from 11 to 1 each week. I'll be joined by a co-host and two guest speakers who are willing to share their stories and lesson with honesty and heart. If you're listening and you feel called to be a guest speaker or a co-host on a future episode, please comment below with your name and a little bit about what you'd like to share, and we will be in touch with you. If you'd like to connect with Debbie, you can reach her at debbie@debbiemasholi.com. I will put that in the comments below. She is a certified John Maxwell life coach. She's wonderful. And thank you all for being here today and for listening and for stepping into this space with us. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday on Step Into Grace Live. Bye for now.
我的天，打开后。